All right, all right, all right. Well, we are back for another one, an open court discussion in the counselor's corner. I am your charming host, David Lorenzo Glover, aka the controversial counselor. Joining me as my co-host, Herb Lewis, the big bad wolf.
Ow!
And we know it is. The rest of the panel is a Showtime decision. Recap from this past Monday's show when parents failed their children. Our discussion centered around past trauma, unable to meet your children's needs, and lack of parental affection. Please go back and check out the replay of this broadcast. So, moving on to tonight's show, January 9th. The topic is, can you be whole without a partner? Basically, can you be complete? Do you feel whole without a partner? Here are some suggestions that if you are someone that doesn't have a partner and you don't feel whole, some of the recommendations were spend adequate time with your friends, um, volunteering in your community. Herb always talks about volunteering. Uh, and some people even adopting a pet or something. And I know many of you may think like that ain't gonna do it, that ain't gonna cut it. A damn pet, you want some a warm body, huh? So stay tuned for more suggestions during this broadcast. Okay, segment two. Do black women have the right to be resentful about black men's income? Mm, mm, mm. Here are a couple reasons why women may be resentful. And this may be on a different ballpark than what Herb has to say about this topic, but I can see where women feeling stress and burnout, responsibilities of being a primary caretaker, and they feel like, okay, I work, I'm doing too much around here, this isn't equal, or men may, the disparity between what men make and women make in some of the jobs may be a difference, so they may have resentment toward that. Also, juggling domestic tasks, grocery shopping, preparing meals, housekeeping, laundry, and errands, and women may feel, I do way more than he does. I do way more than he does. Granted, he may make a good amount of money, but I make a decent amount, and then I have to do everything on top of that. So they may have some resentment. That's just one of the things. We're going to talk about that and open it up more for that conversation. So, okay, good people, I will save some of this conversation for as we proceed in this broadcast. But I have set the table for another amazing show. Please like and share our video and tell others to subscribe to the YouTube channel, The Controversial Counselor. So here we have it. Uh, what's going on, Herb? What's new? What's good?
Man, just had to reposition the plastic on the garage roof, man. It's that blizzard and the falling winds, man, is just making the hell. But I did forget one thing, that what I did last time I shouldn't have done. So we'll see what happens here. And we're looking at another storm coming through here. The only difference is just supposed to get a boatload of rain and no snow. And I'm looking outside and I'm seeing my front yard hadn't been raked and there's leaves all over, because usually I do a pretty good job with leaf cleanup, because I don't like it in the springtime, because the lawn is kind of soggy. Takes a long time to dry out, but there's pros and cons of that. So there's six of one, half a dozen of the other. But other than that, I'm just day by day now. I'm not trying to do too much. I'm not trying to do too little. I'm at the break even phase. So I'm just gonna sail on this ship.
All right, for me, pretty much same old going on. My thoughts is definitely with Damar Hamlin. I'm glad he's been transported back to Buffalo for care. So just a tremendous turnaround. Last week at this time, I was glancing at the TV. Game had stopped. All of these the cat reading the captions and the comments and the broadcast, and we didn't know what the outcome was going to be. A week later, he's working his way back to recovery, and probably still has a battle to go, but he's in the mix now. So that was a good thing, because I could say when I went to work Tuesday, I had like a lot of, I was sullen, had sadness, like, because something that you love to do and you're passionate about could be taken away from you that fast. And not only in sports, it could be in anything. It could be, you know, end up in a car accident, or crossing the street to go to work and get picked off, or like anything. So we can't take those things for granted, and sometimes we often do. But also, and it's great how people, that people rallied around him, but we need to rally around people when, and we talk about this often, it doesn't have to be a tragic situation for us always to rally behind something or a cause. We do a horrible job at that. And I'm gonna say, as blacks, that's what we do. It got to be dire straits for us to make a move. If something positive or something looks good, you just turn your cheek and keep it moving. But it has to be some desperate situation for us to feel sentimental about it. And that's kind of, excuse me, that's fucked up. That something has to be sentimental, like, to that point that you decide, oh, that's when you want to make a move, but you can't do it during, a positive time when everything is flowing well. So, I'm happy that brother made it back. Buffalo plays Sunday at 1 against Miami, so we'll see playoff time. And my boys didn't make it, and I didn't. Once I realized they was going to be matched up with Buffalo, I said, I don't even want these emotions in this game with the Steelers. So I'm glad they didn't make it. So, but we had a winning season. So Tomlin, 16 years, and him showing he's one of the greatest coaches of all time. That streak still stands, and they're going to be rebuilding, and they're going to be tough in the future, real tough. Hey, Daphne, thanks for joining us. So that's pretty much that's that's been on my mind, or I got going on, and I could tell you tons of stories in the schoolhouse. But and also this past weekend, I got a chance to my family came down to DC, so I met them at the for the Tank Davis fight. So that was a good time, good atmosphere. But I could tell you, boy, oh boy, oh boy. And I don't know if he's watching. Ran into one of my buddies from North Avenue. I hadn't seen him since like a teenager. JC Wright, shout out to you. Ran into him at the arena, and like he said, that whole arena smelled like weed. It was weeded out up in that joint. And I'm like, what the hell? Is this a party or a fight? Like, this ain't what boxing is about, whatever. That you got young ladies with smoking joints right in front of you, and they just blowing, and you're like, damn, am I gonna catch a contact? Like they're firing it up like a freaking Rick James or somebody was performing. I don't know. That was crazy, whatever. But we had a good time nevertheless. And that's one of the things. You can't always wait to dire straits to connect with people. If it's possible and you can make it happen, then you try to make it happen and connect with people, because life is short. So you got to relish those opportunities.
Yeah, I concur with that. I know usually my family has a family reunion, and I usually, because I'm working, I can't get the time off. I failed to attend, but this year I'm trying to actually change it. I'm trying to get things set up so I can actually be there. So that's probably my overall family goal, personal goal, aside from business endeavors that I'm looking to do, and of course the 100 questions pamphlet that I'm working diligently on.
That pamphlet done. That is some smoke right there.
And what I'm figuring out, and in writing this, what I'm figuring out, and this is why it was important for me to it's really important for me to reach out to Anetta, and I'm sorry, just forgot her name just that quick. Shanice, is because I need different perspectives now. What I'm discovering is I can't just write this from a male point of view, more specifically, a black male point of view. So I
You got
need to include.
you
I
got
need to.
You got Daphne on here right now. You know
Oh
she
no! I this like I said, I got the spectrum that I need to reach across because I need to be able to target people of different ethnicities,
uh-huh.
different cultures, and some people will say that they're one and the same, and I don't personally think they are. I think you can be of one ethnicity but still like that culture, and I won't get into a specific situation that really drives that home because I don't want to bring that here. It's murky. It was a topic of consternation with the black manosphere in this particular person. So I don't want to bring that particular issue here, at least not yet. But like I said, culture, ethnicity, and then you have to look at things such as education, job attainment, income, wealth. We are in an extremely volatile situation, at least in terms of Western culture, in terms of just dating. The dating landscape, and we've talked about this before, the dating landscape is not what it was 20, 30, 40 years ago. It just isn't. You have a lot of people that, simply put, they are failing to find out where they belong in terms of dating. So if you have people, it doesn't matter what your gender is, if you have people out here looking to actually find a suitable mate to which to build a family with, what direction do they go? And this is part of what the first talking point is. So I'm gonna just run it into that. Where do they go? Who do they talk to? And more importantly, what do they talk about? If they don't have a network of friends, that are diverse, that, are willing to do things, whether it's local or they got to travel somewhere or whatever the case is. Once you get out of high school, and certainly once you get out of college, you're in no man's land. So what do you do? Who do you talk to? Where do you go to meet people? You got some people, and this was really exposed during COVID, where you had a lot of people that couldn't go places, especially when there were situations where they were locked down. I was fortunate. I wasn't completely locked down. I was still able to go to work. I ran some errands here, grocery shopping here, but I also had my civic organization that I belong to. So once a week, we did Zoom meetings. So for me, I was still able to reach out to those group of people, and we still took care of business in that particular manner. But you have some people that didn't even have that, so they were really isolated, and you saw the issues start to creep up in terms of people now experience mental health issues. So that also plays a role in it. So what do you do if you're a 24-year-old male, you just graduated college, you're single, and you have no dating prospects, like none? What do you do? Same thing with women. What do you do if you're a 25-year-old woman, you're looking to get married, but you really don't have a solid lead on men that and this plays into the other talking point we have tonight. You don't find the men that's suitable for what you want long term. So now you just out here playing the field. You out here sleeping with random guys, doing random things, running up your body count, as some people would say. What do you do? Who do you speak to? Especially if your mother, a female cousin, your aunt, they've never been married. Are you gonna really go to them for advice? They're gonna tell you, hey girl, you don't need to get married. Go ahead and live your life.
I wonder I wonder how many people, when you're out in the dating game, and the first topic segment is, can you be whole without a partner? I wonder the people that's chasing a partner, do you do people ever think about their own weaknesses and finding someone that can kind of supplement your weaknesses? And it could be it could be something, if you're goal oriented, career oriented, and but you have certain shortcomings and like and I'm just throwing this example out there. You're like, man, well, I really want to go back to school. I really want to work on work on building my brand, but I need someone that's solid with administrative skills, who's organized, who can be that person that can I can lean on that can help me with bookkeeping stuff. And I know people might be thinking like, "Oh, that seems like you're using someone," but obviously, if you're dating, you're trying to find someone that matches your needs or something that can um, fulfill you, other than people thinking, "Oh, it's all about love. It's all about love." Because if you're basing everything on that, then sooner or later you'll find out it's more to that. So it's almost like you have to think about, man, I need to find like a business partner,
Yeah.
someone that can I can help cover them now. We can coexist and we can make this thing work. But I wonder if people think about that, or do they just think about the actual love element of it all?
And not only is that a valid question, I think people need to understand that there's a couple different reasons why you enter into a relationship. And one is just as you said, you're trying to find somebody long term who you can build with. And part of that should be financial. I mean, if you're going into any relationship and you're not looking at the financial component of it, in my opinion, you're setting yourself up for failure because that's one of the top two reasons for divorce, the other being infidelity. So why would you want to get into a relationship with anybody, especially somebody you're possibly going to be cohabitating with, and not consider the financial ramifications? Like if this individual suffers an injury and they can't work and you guys are living together, you got to carry the household. One of you has to carry the household, especially if that individual has suffered a loss of income permanently and they're not receiving some type of disability to offset their what they were earning. That's a huge burden that one person has to shoulder. Like you said earlier, you know, who's going to help with the housework? Especially if you own a home, a sizable home, you got to start doing some figuring real quick, and I mean quick. So there's a lot at stake. Like I said, aside from the financial component, like you said, love, like the song said, that don't pay the bills. It does not pay the bills. So I look for compatibility. Can we help each other get to whatever goals that we want? And I think that's something that people really don't discuss as long-term goals. And some people will say some things are off limits when you on first or second dates. And I'm of the opposite opinion. Let's sit down and let's hash this out right now. Because why would you want to wait, spend 3 or 4 months dealing with an individual and you guys were never on the same path to begin with? And I'm not even talking about the money invested in going out. I'm just strictly looking at it in terms of time. You might as well go find somebody or something else.
So that reminds me of the post that I put up. It was kind of a throwback post that I reposted about, and I had made the statement pretty much that that's one of the worst things, and it was directed to the ladies. Like, one of the worst things you can do is lead off when you're just getting to know someone and constantly talking about marriage. Whereas, a lot of people disagree. I didn't mind that. I wanted them to disagree. I don't even know if I necessarily believed when I made that post. It was just fishing for different opinions. But a lot of people are like, oh no, I want everything put out on the table if that's what they want. But then I was like, who the hell wants to? I mean, I think that's probably something would be within an initial conversation that you'll talk about. Oh yeah, one day I hope to be married again. But if they constantly honing in on that, my thought process, damn, can we laugh? Could we enjoy each other? Could we giggle together? Could we do anything? So it leads to that mindset that you say, you know what? I really enjoyed that. I had a good ass time with her. I can't wait to see her again. And then those times build off of eventually being together that you like, man, we pretty much inseparable. But I don't think we let those opportunities happen. It's constantly I'm putting everything on the table. This is what I'm doing. How much do you make? Oh, I checked your background. Oh, let me find out about tell me about 3 years ago when you got arrested or whatever the case is. So this is what it became.
You know, it's funny you say that. I personally, I think that all of that stuff can be done. Like you can have the discussion about marriage. You can have the discussion about a person's history. All of that can be done and it can be enjoyable provided that the individual knows how to weave it into the conversation. If you come into the conversation or the interaction, let's not even say conversation, if you come into the interaction with hammer after hammer after hammer, yeah, you're going to look like a comedian that can't deliver a punchline. And nobody wants to be subject to an interrogation while they're on a date. And I think that's a lot of what's lost because of this device. People have forgotten how to actually weave certain things. Weave. Let's matter of fact, let's take the Damar Hamlin situation, and I'm going to segue for a moment. There was a tweet, and for those of you who are sports fans, you'll know what I'm saying. If you don't, that's fine too. There was a tweet made by a gentleman, and I won't mention his name just to avoid all the consternation. And if you read the tweet and you understood what he was saying, you wouldn't have been offended. But there was a segment of the population that was offended and wanted to take him to task, calling for him to be fired from his position, calling for the other co-host to go to another place. And I'm thinking, yeah, and I'm thinking, why are we so quick to be emotionally moved by something just because an individual that looks like us says that? You know, we don't get our information just as is. It's always got to come through a filtered source. And that's dangerous because it doesn't allow the individual who's receiving the information to engage in critical thought. So when you can't engage in critical thought because you're being pushed one way, it puts you in a bad situation. And that's what questioning in a interrogation style situation comes when you're dating. Like I can sit down with a woman and ask her some questions in a manner that would not put her on edge. But a lot of guys don't know how to do that. Just simply put, because they don't have the tact. It reminds me of what my good friend used to say. He said, "You don't have on-call charm." And I looked at him. I said, "Why do you think that?" He said, "Because you do this, this, and this." I said, "I beg to differ." So that's what I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna shout out to my man Joshua. You got that, fellas. You got to have that on-call charm. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow you to sit there and have these kind of conversations with the woman. And she can be a complete stranger. As a matter of fact, I would suggest an acknowledgement to Ron Wills. He says that in order for you to build up to something, you need to practice that. So he would say for guys that are kind of gun shy as are doing what's termed in the dating community as cold approaching, I mean, you don't know the woman, you just go up to her and speak. He says, just do something once, twice. Go pick a mall, go pick a library, whatever place you feel comfortable at, and just start casually speaking to people. And as you get accustomed to do that, open up with questions. Doesn't matter what the question is, so long as you can establish some kind of dialogue. And that's when you start to be able to build into weaving more difficult topics into a discussion, asking questions to get information without seeming as if you're interrogating an individual. Because I don't think anybody that's going out on a date doesn't want to gather some information. You can't convince me that. And you should. Everybody that goes out on a date, all right, on an encounter with somebody that they're trying to build a rapport with, you should be trying to gather information. I don't see why you would not want to. I can't conceive of any reason why. Some people will say, I'm just going out to have a good time. Okay. Let's say you go out and your intent is to have a good time. Are you going to always do that same thing over and over and over again? You mean to tell me you're not going to venture out into some other direction to also have fun? I love sports, but I also love the theater. I like to ice skate. I've never been skiing, and I talked about me taking swing dancing classes before. I haven't gotten back to
Hold up. So that was about 2-3 years ago. You still ain't. Oh, I forgot. Let's take a couple years off with COVID. Whatever.
Yeah.
But we back in full swing of things. Whatever. You got to set a short-term goal and start swinging your ass off somewhere.
But this is what I'm talking about. See, it's these type of things that you can weave into a conversation that you're having with an individual. You're sitting there, and I mean, let's say the topic of abortion comes up, and I think most of us agree. It's a very, very delicate topic, but you don't have to approach it like that. Just matter of fact, it reminds me when we went to the spot in Buffalo, and I breached this topic, and they just lost their minds. They were like, "You can't ask a woman that. Why can't I?" And they were talking about that's a HIPAA violation. I said, "I'm not a healthcare worker."
But
Now, go ahead.
But what was interesting, I don't know why the screen keep going in and out. What was interesting about that is after you left, it was some young lady who said, I don't see the issue or the problem with him asking that question. She was like, because shit, if you haven't had any, fine, you answer it. She said only is an issue if you're the type that keep having them over and over. She said we can ask men any damn question that we and she didn't say that during the live segment, but
Yes,
after
yes, she said it while we
cleaning
were
up,
off
she
here.
was talking. She was like, so we can ask men any damn question, but women, we don't think men can ask us anything. It's too personal, whatever, but we can ask them personal stuff. And I was like, she got a valid point. She got a valid point there.
And that's the thing. So there's a way to be tactful when bringing up sensitive things. Just you don't need to be the hammer. Learn it's what they call the iron fist and the velvet glove. Learn how to massage something. Learn how to ease into it. And people will say, well, how would you do that? Well, what is the topic that you want to bring up? Do you want to talk about something that's a politically driven topic like abortion? Or you can sit back and say, I got a question for you. Now, and I don't want to be insensitive. What are your thoughts on the Supreme Court's decision with overturning abortion? Ask an open-ended question. That way you're not putting the person on the spot. But also understand that when you do this, you have to be open-minded. In other words, don't go in there looking for an answer that aligns with your ideologies, or as they say, ideologies. Because when you do that, you set yourself up for failure. Go in with an open mind, be a parachute, take any information and use it. Use it to make you a better person. Because an individual, just like Davis has just disclosed, you may run into an individual that has a different perspective. And when they talk about the perspective, you say, you know what? I never thought about something like that. I never viewed it that way. I never looked at it that way. That's how you become a more valued listener. And we always talk about communication on this platform. And it's paramount that people need to understand how to listen and not necessarily react. How to listen and ask another question that allows and fosters the growth. Because you never know. The individual that you're sitting across from, you may not work out as potential dating partners, but this individual can say, you know what? I have an individual that I think you might get along very well with, and I'll introduce you. That's the value of being an open-minded person, because as they say, where one door closes, another one opens. So not only have you made a friend, because that if she's a woman, she's gonna say, hey, you know what? I sat down with this guy. We didn't hit it off, but I enjoyed the conversation. And I'm gonna speak from a masculine perspective. What women enjoy most about a man, aside from what he can provide for her, is the ability to talk to him. I can't state that enough. If you can sit there and have an hour and a half conversation with a female, you've accomplished something that a lot of men just can't do. And that, my friends, put you in a very select company.
And it's power in it. Radiant Ronell, how you doing? Big Discussion 76. Thanks for joining. Ronell said, listen without the intent to respond Also, listening to respond or listening to hear. And that's part of Stephen Covey's concept that a lot of people like to um, prescribe before they diagnose a situation. So, listen to understand is important instead of listening to reply. And a lot of times people just sitting there waiting. Oh, I can't wait to say something, and they never really hear what you got to say. Marsha Warren, hey Marsha, thanks for joining. They need to know how to actively listen. There's a difference between that and listening. Yeah, and that is true. Actively listening. You're listening for certain points. You're listening to validate feelings and things like that. When, you know, for example, if somebody's talking and they say, man, I was pissed off about this. I was pissed off. Now you want to dig into deeper and say, okay, well, tell me more about what really made you pissed off, whatever. Because now they're understanding, you're validating their feelings. You're validating them because you're asking questions related to their emotions. But a lot of times people don't listen to any of that type of language, and they're just waiting to reply instead of really hearing that person out. So that's counseling 101 stuff. But also, I want to go back to the point of the interrogations on the date. And I know sometimes it's easier to come off hard when you're interrogating. And say, for example, I know a friend who said he went on a date and a woman pulled out a pen and a pad and she had questions and she was roasting him. And he was like, wow. But he stayed the course.
Yeah.
He stayed the course. He went through that. He still kept the communication up. And eventually she folded. She folded. She talked good and all that stuff, but so sometimes it's easier to deal with somebody. They'll come off a certain way, but they'll nail, and that's just like with parenting, and even when you're in education, that sometimes it's better to you come off hard, then you can lighten up instead of trying to you coming off soft and then turn around trying to be hard. And that method usually doesn't work. So let me read these comments. Radiant said, Brian and Stratton Leadership Class 101. You already know it, BNS. big discussion. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Not always easy to do. That is true. And because a lot of times people really don't really want to understand what you got to say. they uh they prefer to get their stuff off so they're not really hearing you out. And I think that's a big problem. You gotta have attentive listening skills. You gotta pay attention to what people are saying and kind of listen to them, man. Because even me working with middle schoolers, sometimes they say, "Oh, you should be giving them eye contact," but I'm past that stage. So sometimes I'll still be, maybe responding to an email, and they'll be talking, and they may say, "Mr. Glover, you're not even looking at me." Like, I hear what you're saying, and then all of a sudden I might stop dead stream. Like, what did you say? Hold on. What did you just say? Then they know, like, oh damn, he's really listening. He was able to paraphrase and you know and recite pretty much everything that I said. So it's a it's an art of listening, and I think that's probably sometimes more powerful than talking. The art of listening.
Yeah, Marsha brings up an excellent point, and that was something I just mentioned, and I'll actually read that comment. She says, "People have to do more talking and less text messaging. You can't feel emotions in text messaging, and it makes it hard to connect with the person. Let's do old school." And I completely agree, which is why I always tell people, and it's like Kevin Samuels used to say, life happens out there. Get out into the world, walk around, go someplace, do something. Matter of fact, it brings up to life. We and I've talked about a bucket list before. I think everybody should have a list of things that they want to do, a list of places that they want to visit, because it's going to force you. All right, hold on. Get the boy.
Over these goddamn cats. He can't even control these damn cats.
had to had to avert a little melee there. Yes, back to what I was saying. Having that bucket list, it's going to put you out in the world. It's going to put you out among people to where the odds of you possibly engaging in a conversation increases.
You need to get a little more control of them goddamn cats or whatever. They just running shit. Running that shit.
Pardon that, people. It's going to put you out there to where you're compelled to engage with people. So I was on a TikTok, and this guy was talking about how going to witness a ball drop in New York City was the worst experience he's ever had. He talked about people wearing diapers and having to stand in line and all of this other stuff. I'm thinking, I did it, and I had an absolute grand time. But then I realized something. I planned for the event. So I didn't drink anything afternoon because I knew I had read up on the stuff. So I knew that once you got in the procession to get down to Times Square, which if you did, you were lucky, you couldn't get out of line to go to the bathroom. You lose your spot and you had to go all the way back uptown to get back in. Now, I was probably, when the bar dropped, I was probably about 10 blocks from Times Square itself. And I was in the Canyon of Heroes, and this is where the Canyon of Heroes is where, he's just all over the place tonight. The Canyon of Heroes is where the parades are held for New York sports championship teams. So whether it's the Knicks, the Giants, the Rangers, the Islanders, I think even New Jersey Devils may go down there. Of course, the Mets and the Yankees. That's where they go down when they celebrate. I met people from Belgium, Switzerland, and I'm thinking, you guys can go to Paris. You can go to Rome. Why come here to the United States in New York City? That's not because it's different. And I'm just like, that's just cool. But I like to do things off the beat path. I like to meet people because I like to speak. And I also, and this is something I'm going to issue this challenge to the listeners out there, whether it's now or later on. I have one challenge for everybody. I want you to learn another language. I don't care what it is, Spanish, French, two of the more popular ones, Italian, German. The more time I spend on TikTok, the more I realize that I'm not as cultured as I want to be. I want to be able to go anywhere in the world and relate to somebody. And one of the easiest ways to do that is by learning another language. Honest to goodness, it is. You have because I work where I do, I encounter people from all over. Had a group of people come in from Kazakhstan, and if you don't know where Kazakhstan is, go look it up. I won't tell you. So when I actually spoke to the people and told them, I said, yes, I'm aware of where Kazakhstan is. They were just shocked because it went against the notion that Americans don't know anything outside the United States of America. And I understand because a lot of people just simply don't. And not that it makes you any better of a person. It just allows you to connect with people who aren't from here. And if life is all about relationships, then why not endeavor to be something that somebody can plug into or that you can plug into somebody else? Like I said, I think language is one of the best ways to do that.
It reminds me of today. I've been going to physical therapy for like shoulder pains. It was like elbow. It's shit. They give me anything. Any given day. You don't know. When you get older, you just wake up with shit pains. So my PT, she's young, and I'll be schooling her. She dropped one of my statements that I always say often, and I was saying something about yoga, and she was like, well, she teaches yoga. Well, she asked how was my weekend. I'm like, okay. I told her my weekend. I was like, how was yours? And she was like, I taught a yoga class. I did yoga. Then I was like, you taught a class, and then I was like, is this like a minor class? And then she like minor. Then I'm like, but I meant to say beginners level. She was like, sort of. Then I said I could never do yoga in front of people like that. I said because I can't stretch or do anything like that, and I just couldn't do it. And she's like, "Well, YouTube is great for that. You could always do that at home." But she was like, "David, sometimes you got to do something to do some things that you're uncomfortable doing with." And I'm like, "Damn, she got me." She's like, "Sometimes you got to step out the box and do some things that makes you feel uncomfortable." And after leaving there, I processed that like, yeah, that is right. And she said, or she hit me with another thing that I hit her with. She was like, and I said, I just got to get back motivated. I said, I had been going hard, walking, doing certain things. I said, but then I hit a lull, and that's where I'm at. She's like, sound like you're in a rut. So, which was funny because one of the other week she's like, oh, I didn't do much. I must have went to my refrigerator like 30 times. And I said, I said, and you went there 30 times, and each time it was the same, pretty much same shit in there. I said, sound like you're in a rut. And then she's like, wow. Like, so ever since I said that, she honed in on that. So she came back with me today, like, sound like you're in a rut. Like, you sound like you're not motivated. So the value of, like Herb said, speaking to different people, you never know where you could get your source of encouragement from. It's powerful. And I could tell you another story when I was at Bryan and Stratton. I was stuck on my master's level not master's, bachelor's level for a while. And I had applications to go for my master's, but I never did, or something came up till somebody came there and they kind of like, listen, so you're just gonna sit here with your bachelor's, as smart as you are. Like, there's like, shit, you should be able to run, you should be the president of this damn school. And they kept challenging me every day, and it was frustrating. Like, and eventually I decided to go back to get my master's, and I'm like, damn, I waited all this damn time. Like, this is easy work. It and I could have been had it. So you just never know. it's important to listen to others and get a source of motivation from different individuals, and you don't know how that's going to be. And that kind of also goes with the segment, can you be whole without a partner? And one of the
Hmm.
things is volunteering or spending more time with friends, or you just never know what that can bring out in you to make you a better person or make you complete. And a lot of times people feel like they hear that shit, oh, the quickest way to get over somebody is get up under somebody. Eh, you hear statements like that, and people think like, well, that's what I got to do, move on to the next person without ever working on themselves. And we talk about that often too on here. Like
Hmm.
sometimes you just gotta get locked in on something and kind of disappear. And I just was telling somebody this, I don't know if it was last night, it was the other night. I said sometimes you just gotta have that Machiavelli communication with people. If you don't feel appreciated, disappear from their asses for a while, or feed them with that long wooden spoon in the kitchen, and they'll realize that you're a force and you're not
Yep.
playing with them. But if you're always available for them, then fuck him, I'm gonna do what I want. Sometimes you got a Machiavelli on people.
And I'll co-sign that because often I am accused, and when I say often, I do mean often. I am accused of being antisocial. And what I tell people is, no, excuse me, I am selectively social. Make sure that the people you spend time with, that you interact with, they are worth it. You have some people who are just simply put, they should not be involved in your life, whether it's family, co-workers, exes. You have to be able to make the distinction of who's adding value and who's taking value. Because if you guys aren't receiving and giving to each other, you're not building anything. It's like impasse. And you hear a lot of women talk about being empathic, and I have no problem with that. More power to people, whether you're male or female, and that's who you are at your core. Beautiful thing. But do not empty yourself out to the point where you're left struggling just trying to exist. And we've seen a lot of, like I said, COVID has unveiled a lot of things that a lot of people are going through now. You have people that didn't have anyone to talk to, whether it was to pick up the phone, FaceTime, or anything. And I'll say this: I recently lost a couple of teeth in my clogs, and I don't like it, but I understand that these individuals are doing something different. I missed the time that we communicated because it was another outlet for me to engage in childhood banter, jokes. It was always somebody there. And now that that individual or individuals are there, I had to find another source of not even entertainment. I had to find something else to plug into, which for me isn't always easy because I don't like to divulge everything about myself to certain people. It's like I described to Dr. Dunbar one time. I said, I'm an atom. I'm a nucleus. I have friends that are protons and I have friends that are electrons. He said, I don't get it. I said, the electrons, they come and go. They're free to establish something with somebody else. And that doesn't necessarily mean that we're dating. It's just a relationship. I said, but then I have my protons, and my protons, those are my people in my inner circle. And here I am now in the nucleus. So that's how I kind of look at myself. And if you understand the analogy, cool. If you don't, okay.
So
But that's
now that you say that, it reminded me, like, damn, that point just came to me, and I could be off, but I do think that when you said atoms, whatever, I think we was always taught like that means away, the
mm,
atoms away, whatever. I remember that point. I don't know, it might have been in high school. I remember that point to deal with when they talked about protons and atoms, and I think they was like, when you think of atoms, it's drawing away from you or something like that. I could be off, but that's what I think.
Yeah, and I think everybody, it's let's look at it like this. Take somebody that's well to do. Not everybody can get to them. Not everybody has access to them because their time is valuable. So the people that do have access to them, whether it's an assistant or whoever, they make sure that they get in, get addressed what they need to have addressed, and they're gone. Not because they don't want to be around it, but because they have things to do and also a busy life. Have some things that you do regularly. Don't sit around waiting for somebody to invite you to something. Create something that you invite people to. Whether it's because I'm in the process right now, and I got a couple things in the works besides the pamphlet. I'm in the process of trying to make a game show. I'm not going to divulge too many details about it, but I want to be able to do this once a week, once a month, to bring people together from every walk of life, using a couple different things that I think everybody likes. That's one way that you can broaden your horizons. That's one way that you can build rapport with people. They'll say, hey, you know what? That individual did this. Let me invite them over. Well, come with me. You're always doing something. You're always doing this. You're always doing that. Let me extend my hand in friendship and gratitude to you. And I think a lot of that is lost. We talking about completing the circle, and are you whole without those relationships? I tell you not. I would tell you that your shell and whatever you fill that shell with is what you have. A lot of us, simply put, we're not filling ourselves with anything. We're just walking around, existing, and if something happens good to us, we'll take it.
It,
And if something
you go ahead. Go ahead.
and if something bad happens to us, we're bemoaning it. And we'll say, well, why does this always have to happen to me? Why don't I have any good fortune? Or why don't I enjoy some fruits of my labor? Sometimes you got to create good times. Sometimes you got to get out there and say, you know what? I'm gonna go here and do this. Even if I got to do it by myself. Because when I went to New York City, I was by myself. My boy just happened to be out of town at the time. I stayed at his house in the Bronx. Shout out to Chris. Had an excellent time. So don't be afraid to venture out into the world. You were born by yourself unless you were a twin. Don't be afraid to do anything by yourself.
And I think that has a lot to do with, you got to find challenges, especially as you get older. You got to find, you're no longer able, and you find a lot of older guys, and I'm gonna say guys. I'm not gonna pick on you women. I'm gonna say guys that still reliving their old high school hoop days and all that shit. That was when you was 18. Your ass 50 something now. Shut the fuck up about that. Create other challenges or other competitions that you have that forced your back against the wall. I know when I became an author, and it was funny. Then I end up having, Herb's been rolling around right along with me during that time. Shit, 2014. I've been doing these type of platforms and shows for um, shit 8 years,
Yeah.
and I tell people all the time, I got bars. I got bars. I got content. Trust me, I got notebooks full of stuff. And and unfortunately, you just don't get the support. Shit. To be honest, I should have been Kevin Samuels before Kevin Samuels. Uh, with all this stuff, but unfortunately, when you the nucleus of the people that you know don't don't have that same you know thought process or mentality to like, okay, let's come together, let's push forward. You get what you get, but I'm not giving up on the process because I always tell the story of my barber. He had said, and he's been my barber for about 7 8 years, and he was and I said something about me having a podcast or doing blog talk, and then he was like, "Yo, hold on." He stopped in dead stream of coming. Hold up, how the fuck do you have a blog talk account and you don't talk? And then so I talk. And then he was like, "Man, we talk sports in here. You say your little stuff here and there. You say your stuff about the Steelers, whatever, but you're not one to kind of initiate you don't come in here to initiate a conversation or something. You'll kind of say something, and then after a while, you start checking me out. You're like, yo, dude, you talk a lot of shit. You talk a lot of shit that piss people off." But I had to challenge myself for that. Like, it's no way that people that work with me will say, there's no way that David or Mr. Glover does a blog talk or has a YouTube channel or whatever the case is. Sometimes you got to get out your element to grow. So even when I think about PT, physical therapy, don't be surprised if y'all say I'm going live and I'm doing some fucking yoga somewhere. Don't know how that's gonna work out. But sometimes people say stuff and you're like, oh, that's a challenge to me. So sometimes you got to accept challenges. And I know oftentimes some guys like to travel the path of least resistance. That may be for other things. And they're like, I don't feel like doing the frustration or always being challenged by a woman to a point that some things I don't have to be challenged. Some things should be easy. I put in the time. I've showed you my merit. You do not have to continue to make things so difficult for me, where someone else would say, hey, you had a hard week. You know, you don't need to go through that. Let me unwind you. Most guys gonna travel that path. They're not gonna keep putting up with all that. Nah, I don't do that. I don't do that. This ain't what I do. That whole thing. I don't do that. That sounds negative to start off with. So understand. You got to accept challenges and you got to be ready. And as you get older, you need challenges. That's probably what keeps you alive. Because a lot of times when people retire shortly after, if they don't have anything going on, they die. They die. And I ain't trying to die I got a while till I try to die. So even though I got almost 30 years in working, not in the same state, but there's no way in hell that I would say, oh, I'm about to walk off into the sunset and collect a retirement without having something else. You got to have challenges in life.
Yeah, and one of those things that I help with the challenge is a hobby. Like I said, I'll challenge the listeners to pick up a new language, and once you get to a point where you master that language, pick up another one. Something I heard somebody say was, crossword puzzles. Do crossword puzzles. That'll help stave off Alzheimer's because it gets you thinking cognitively, and I think that's one of the things, especially if it runs in your family. I don't know if Alzheimer's is considered a mental health issue, but hobbies, crossword puzzles, something else. Pick up an instrument. You're looking to score women, fellas. Learn to play a guitar. I can tell you, you will be the life of a party, especially if you become proficient at it and you have a halfway decent voice and you can sing.
Hold up. I had a damn guitar. I had a nice guitar when I was a kid, and that shit was in the closet for the longest. My father bought me a guitar because he was some fake musician, I guess. But I had a guitar. Never learned how to play it. Never had no desire. If I'd had to play that and I could have been out on the porch playing music, man, I would be a real force. But anyways, but that is one of the things they talk about, having hobbies. And I know sometimes people look at hobbies as like it's like hobbies are only made for kids or whatever the case is, but hobbies Hobbies is things that you enjoy, you're passionate about, and sometimes people hobbies is just reading. You may have reading goals, and you may say, "I plan to get through this book. I plan to read 5 books per month," or whatever the case is. And reading is an amazing thing when you think about vocabulary and all that stuff.
Yep.
Uh, like the words and stuff, because sometimes I might say some stuff and then I have to go back like, damn, did I just say that? Did I really know what I mean? But I've read it and I've seen that word so many times. No, he didn't bring out the Willie Nelson.
I am a man that practices what I preach.
It looked like
Now,
my damn good time.
you know what? It's an offender. I picked this up from Media Play when Media Play closed at half price. I haven't done much with it, but I do plan on being able to play it one day. So, like I tell people, if I tell you something, it's because not only do I believe in it, I'm going to practice. Also, looking to my left, camera right, I have a keyboard, something else that I plan on learning how to play. People, make your life worth living. It's like the Dos Equis guy. Everybody enjoyed those commercials, but we don't put those kinds of things to practice. You know, you want to have a fulfilling life, and you don't have a lot of people around you. Immerse yourself in things. Matter of fact, I follow this guy on TikTok who plays the keyboard, and I asked him. I did a live stream, and he plays for hours on end. One of the things I've discovered that I like about TikTok is because you get to come across these people who are um musicians. They're not paid professionals per se, but there are some people on there who are just damn good. They just haven't got that break. I asked this guy a question in the live stream, and he picked it up and he responded to it. He said it was an excellent question. I said, how can I become good at playing? He said about 20, 30 minutes a day. And if we think about it, in the grand scheme of things, 20 or 30 minutes a day, that's not a whole lot of time. But they also say this: if you spend 20 minutes a day, and this is what you just talked about, David, reading, that will put you in the top 15 to 20% of intelligent Americans. And that's something that you can't sneeze at.
Shit, hell, they take it further. If they say you work out 20 or 30 minutes a day, we all have that time. So I don't know how sometimes, as my PT said, sound like you're in a rut, David. I don't know how we get into these ruts when it's something that we could simply do. And a lot of us have certain things, equipments and things at home that you could simply say, let me just pull up this exercise bike in front of ESPN and watch this show and ride this bike or something for 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't got your workout in.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't got, along with, trying to eat proper and all that stuff. Some people, all that matters is if they just need to work out.
Yeah.
They just need to work out and they need to do that. So I have those little laps, whatever. But I'm gonna be back. Yeah, I know I'm gonna be back. I haven't blown up like I was at the point at one point I was close to losing 60 pounds for that time span, and then I done gained a few pounds here and there. But I'm still not out of the war. I'm still close to my goal. My ultimate goal was to lose 75 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
So I probably got some I got some work to make up with it, and I'm gonna get there. And it's all about habits and routines. And once you get into a routine of something positive, you'll continue doing it. But sometimes you have routines of negativity, and that could it could be spiral days and days of not being positive or doing things that you're used to doing. So don't don't underestimate what we talk about here in the counselor's corner. Let me see. Marcia said 10 minutes on the trampoline is good too. I ain't never like getting on no trampoline,
Woo.
even in school. I did not like that. I did not like that at all.
Yeah.
Naomi said 14 days is a habit.
Yeah. I will take my bike, and and I really do, because I'm far too heavy for what I'm usually for what my weight should be. So there's definitely I have to establish some new habits and new routines. But the winter, boy, it just, and maybe because I've been so busy over the last couple of years, I'm just like, you know what? I'm just gonna dial it down a bit. I need to just relax. I need to decompress. I just need to just let it all go, but not too far so I actually can get back. But you know, I tell everybody, because sometimes people will think that I'm just go 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 and there's no rest, and I'm just like, I realized I was at a point where I was only getting about 4 or 5 hours of sleep a day, and sometimes I wasn't getting that, and it was starting to pull on me, and I wasn't as sharp mentally. Physically, I was exhausted. I was just like, okay, I can't continue to do this. I'm going to end up aging myself prematurely. I always catch this nonsense. I don't have any gray hairs. I don't have any. There's a particular reason for it. I don't have kids and I don't have a wife. So what I missed there, I pick up and being busy. So
Back
yeah.
off the gray hair, man. Roll your roll that shit. But all jokes aside, like let not probably last year when I started playing basketball, I was in my conquest to lose weight, and after a while, well, I started cooking out there, like not like that, but like playing. Like I start getting into a zone, like in the low post with these guys, punishing people, and I was at a good weight, and I was like feeling good, but then injuries set in.
Yeah.
Injuries set in, bruised toes, shin splits, and all that stuff. And I never went back. So I've been retired for probably over a year from stepping on the court. And you know what? It was more than just playing basketball. It was being around older guys and just fellowshipping and having a good time. And I think I missed that, and I haven't done it in a while. And to be honest, I'm a man, and I can admit I'm afraid to probably step back out there because I don't want to deal with that initial pain. That shit, that shit is crazy. You ain't played in a while, then you have to go to work and you walking around and you can barely move. And that's why some guys and even pro athletes and stuff, they say they can't do training camps no more and all that stuff. And they reach that peak of like it's just too much on the body. And I always remember what the great Kobe Bryant said: "Listen to the body." So now I spend more time listening to my body, and I say I'm just not ready to do that right now. So certain things I say I'm not ready to do, but also I know I still have to do certain things. We still have to find some form of exercise. That's a big part of being whole yourself, because if you're physically whole, then that helps with your mental.
Yeah.
Because if you physically broken down, that shit wears on you. You ain't
Mhm.
gonna be no sharp debonair person and you're all broken down. I don't give a damn hood. You show me or you tell me somebody that's broken down, that's struggling in pain, and they suave and they got everything going on. Nah. Show me that person. Please show me that person.
Yeah, and you mentioned yoga earlier. For those of you who are struggling to, put together an exercise regime, yoga is a perfect starting place. I will tell you now. Me personally, I'm not at that particular point now because weather permitting, I'll put on a pair of rollerblades and go rollerblade for a half an hour, 40 minutes. I thoroughly enjoy rollerblading. There's this place where I can rollerblade around the track. I don't have to worry about traffic, bad roads. I throw on my earphones. I'm good. I'll do the same thing with my bike, and the falls is always a great place for me. Right around Three Sisters Island. It's about one trip around is about 3.5 miles. I used to like literally, I would ride my bike from where I used to stay across town from here, around the falls, down Buffalo Avenue, and out along the river to North Tonawanda. For those of you who are familiar with the area, it's roughly about a bike ride in terms is about an 8 mile ride one way, and then I'd ride back the other way. Now, I can't do that anymore because I'm not in that physical condition. I'd have to work up to it. But I've always found it therapeutic, riding along the water, that wind,
Hold
and
up,
every.
hold up. Not to cut you off, you can go back to how the hell. No, I'm gonna say what I want to say. How the fuck you do all that shit? Ride the bike with training wheels? I'm just playing.
No, man, my bike, literally, I kid you not, my bike is
Uh,
about 30 years old. I bought that bike just after I graduated high school, before I started at Bluff State, which is 1993. I graduated high school in 1992. I bought a green GT Outpost, 26 inch, and I still have it. Got to get some work done to it, but that sucker still rolls. And I get on that baby, and it's like the song "Ride Like the Wind" by Chris, Chris. What the heck is his name? Christopher. What the hell is his name? I can't remember his name.
well, you could think.
Anyway,
I don't know. Don't even bring up.
sailing.
I was gonna say, don't bring up that green bike. It'll remind me of my childhood. I didn't told this is Chronicle. My father wanted me to ride the green machine, this 27-inch bike when I was like 9 years old, and I wasn't ready to ride it, whatever. It shit, I was tormented every day to ride this bike, whatever. But it's all good. I can laugh at that stuff now, but it was hell and back in the days.
Yeah, I think his name was Christopher Cross. I think the one that makes sailing. But anyway, I a bike, rollerblades. And for those of you who might be arthritic, find a pool. Uh, Find somewhere where the water isn't that deep, where you can stand up in it. Wear flotation devices and just kick. Do kicks. It's no stress on the joints. You're gonna get your heart rate up. You're gonna burn some calories, and I guarantee you, if you don't feel good after doing that, I think you did. That's just my personal opinion. Doesn't mean that you are, but that's just my personal opinion.
All right, I think that segment is a lot of good conversation. Can you be whole without a partner? We kind of mixed it up, mixed bag. We talked about different things, but you get the drift about being whole. That I think we all can be whole, but it's certain things that we all need to do to make ourselves whole. But also, when you're thinking about a partner, you want someone that could also. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't want y'all to think like when people think like, well, I'm independent. I could do whatever. I could do without this person or whatever the case is. Sometimes I think that's the wrong mindset to have. If you can, somebody could add value to you and make you better, there's nothing wrong with that. And we always make parallel to sports, and I always say sports leadership is the best leadership. When you think about at parallels, because you have championship teams that you can say, oh, we can run it back, but they always need something. Then they go out and find that something, that special thing that they're looking for. Like this person right here can take me over to the top. And that's how you need to think about in relationships, like finding that person that can take you to the top of what you do. And that's vice versa. But we don't look at it stuff like that. We don't look at I think everything is competition, to be honest. Uh Not to the point that you trying to cut somebody's throat, but just saying, I think personal competition, challenging yourself. Not that you're looking at other individuals, just something you set. Because if you set goals, really, that's really competition. You really should be having a time frame to accomplish them goals. You can't say, oh, I plan on one day getting my degree, and then 20, 30 years go by, you still working on it. Well, that doesn't work. So you have to have long term and short term goals. You may say, I want to become a homeowner. I want to be able to purchase this or that. I want to be able to buy a boat one day or something. You have to set some long-term and short-term goals. So, interesting segment. Anything you want to close out about this segment, Herbert? Then we can move on to the
No,
next.
no, I think I believe the question has been thoroughly answered. It's possible, but you got to put in some work.
All right. So the next segment. Now, yeah, I might not like that for the black women that's listening. Do black women have the right to be resentful about black men's income? Herb, tell us what triggered your mind with this question.
I have a gentleman who will go unnamed. I probably should have tagged him in this, but he never really appears when I tag him anyway. But in the manosphere, there's been a lot of discussion about the amount of money required for a man to be able to have a wife and a family without her necessarily having to contribute to it. And it was the threshold was $50,000. Now, I'm not here to say what a man should earn or what a man shouldn't earn. That's his business. I'm not a pocket watcher. But I believe it's something that merits discussion because we hear a lot of women, particularly black women, saying that men aren't making enough money for me. And ultimately, what a lot of women are looking for is they're looking for a lifestyle. Now, I don't begrudge any woman that wants a certain lifestyle. If that's what she wants, she's entitled to want anything her heart desires. Now, the question becomes, can she find a man that's doing that? 30, 40 years ago, before heavy industry started being moved out of the country and being outsourced, a black man could actually do that. He could sit his wife down, they could have kids. Come on, boy. What do you want? They could have kids, and he could be the sole provider in that family. But those jobs are no longer present. And so now the shift has had to come in terms of going to college. And black men, while we have attended college more than the past generations, we're not keeping pace with our female counterparts. Now, the problem that presents is twofold. Go. The problem that presents is twofold. One, they want somebody who's on an economic level, and two, they want somebody that's on their educational level. And so they feel as if a man who hasn't been to college, regardless of how much money he's earning, he can't have a sentient conversation with them. And that's the unfortunate part. And this is why we talk about reading. Because just because a man is a blue collar worker, whether he's a truck driver, machinist, or doing construction, hey, stop. That he can't sit there and be knowledgeable about certain things. So now that you have this growing division between men and women, especially in Western cultures, if he's not earning enough money, what does this leave for women to do? Because this is something you mentioned earlier, Dave. If she has to go out and work, and then she's tasked with most of the domestic responsibilities, she's going to burn out eventually. If she has to help with the schoolwork, she has to prepare meals, she has to clean up behind the kids, do laundry, maintain, and I know guys generally do landscaping, snow removal, but they'll tell you that's not the same. So are you really going to sit there and argue with your wife about domestic responsibilities, about the upkeep of the home, if she's doing half? So yes, they have a right to be upset. the question is, who should they be upset at? That's where the situation becomes a little bit dicey because now we see, and I'll use myself for example, we see statistics are half of black men roughly in this country don't have kids, not married. So if a portion of that male populace is content with the money they make, and I make about $40,000 a year, and I'm not having any kids. I might get married, but kids is out of the equation. That's going to leave a lot of women scrambling for a very select few men. So now those women who actually want a husband, if they want to work, it's because they choose to, not because they have to. What choices do they have, especially if they want to remain race loyal? Where are they going to go? Who are they going to turn to?
Marcia said a lot on this comment. Let me just read this. I just don't understand why one's income becomes a factor when a couple marries. They should have and establish certain long-term goals that are realistic to be able to obtain together. But I don't think anyone's income should outshine either party. Why should this be a deal breaker for some women or men who have the potential to be of being married and living a wholesome life? Just saying.
Well, like I said, it goes back to a quality of life, and a lot of this finds its genesis in the whole thing that has become a talking point in the black manosphere and the manosphere overall is high value men. So if they set the pace for what is an acceptable level of income because it allows the women in their lives to enjoy a certain comfort of living, then that's where the bar is. So it's not necessarily men, it's not necessarily women, it's just what women want. So if you want a man that can allow you to sit down and not work, or not have to work, I should say, not work, and you only work when you want to, most women are going to opt for that. It's the old adage, what's his is mine and what's mine is mine. A lot of women still operate under that paradigm. And if they can't find a man who can deliver on that, then they're going to be pissed. Now, whether they have the right to blame men is a different story, but they're going to blame men. Why? Because under old customs, men are supposed to provide. Women are not supposed to provide. And that's a lot of what is coming to surface now, is that, lack of a better term, modern women are starting to find out that going to work 40 hours, no matter what you're doing, it's not all it's cracked up to be.
Hey, Herb, hold it down. I gotta step away for a second.
Yeah. So they're finding out it's not all it's cracked up to be. They want to be able to vacation. They want the kids to be able to have the college educations paid for if they can't get scholarships. They don't want to have to worry about not having money to pay bills. They want to be able to have the family car. 2 cars would be ideal. 1 car, some people consider to be a struggle. I personally, I don't own a car, but I've situated my life so I don't. So a lot of women will look at me and they say, well, you're not a good man because you can't provide what I want. Like I said, it doesn't make it right. But if that's the standard she's setting for herself, then by all rights, she should be able to have that. And this is where the reality and the illusion start to collide. And when they do, they lash out. So now you're starting to see a segment of brothers that are just like, you know what? We just walking away. We don't have to. This is what someone's saying. We don't have to break our necks to go out and earn $75,000, $80,000, $85,000, $90,000, $100,000 just to make you happy. And because a lot of black men are taking that position, it's leaving black women in a position that they don't like. Thus, the I won't call it outlasting, because I don't think that's what it is, but I think there's some concern about what good is a black man if he's not going to earn, if he's not going to provide, if he's not going to do all these things that my father used to do and my grandfather used to do. We know what inflation is doing now. Gas is almost $5 a gallon. So if a man isn't earning that kind of money and the woman has to go out and work, she's saying, well, wow, I can do bad by myself. And this is why you see a lot of black women, they just simply put, aren't getting married. Some people will say they're relying on the government. They have multiple kids. They're this, they're that, their liabilities. All of that stuff may be true. But this is a situation that we are seeing now. So it begs the question, how can we get black men to earn more money so black women are happier, or at least they're content with getting married, content with having kids, content with being a stay-at-home wife because her husband can provide? All of these things now come into question. Even with college education, most I think, according to what I was reading with blackdemographics.com, and let me pull that up for a moment. You know, white collar black men, 41%, blue collar 36%. And like I said earlier, blue collar jobs is where black men used to make their hay at. Skilled tradesmen, masonry workers. Those were the jobs that literally paid the bills. And now that those jobs are gone, black men haven't made that transition to college. STEM fields pay very well. A lot of people talk about truckers. They routinely make $100,000 if you're a long haul trucker. There are jobs out there that do pay well. But black women are just saying, you know what? The juice is not worth the squeeze. So now that you have, and then there's also this other phenomenon called lying flat, which a lot of Gen Zs and Zillennials, I'm sorry, not Zillennials, Gen Zs and Zillennials are the same thing. Gen Zs and the alpha generation, they're buying into. So they're just like, you know what? We're not going to work. We're not going to do anything that we don't have to do. It's manifesting itself in the number of marriages that those demographics are not engaged in, the number of kids, the delayed adulthood, meaning they're not buying homes, they're not getting married, they're not doing any of the things that the predecessors have done. And this affects black people more than anybody else.
So let me ask you something on that, and I know that has been going on, and I read some things about that. So when somebody says they're going to shut down and they're not going to work at all, how are they living? How are they maintaining? Where are they getting income from?
A lot of them are still staying with their parents.
Oh, okay.
You know, in this particular economy, because a lot of things have been decentralized, some people are relying on apps and other things to make money. So you see people promoting products. They'll get some money from there. You get people that are moving from place to place. Case in point, I saw this one young woman who had a van and she was using part of college to pay for what she was doing. She was picking up an odd job here, an odd job there. There was no consistency into what she was doing. And a lot of guys are doing things like that. And because a lot of people have understand their parents, they say, hey, look, you can stay here until you get on your feet. And some people are just taking advantage of that. They're just saying, hey, look, I don't need to work. I don't have any kids. I don't have any real responsibilities. I don't own a home. I don't have an apartment. So I can come and go as I want. My parents aren't putting any pressure on me. I don't have anything to lose.
See, and I think with that mindset, if that is the case, then maybe they know, maybe those particular people know they got a goose egg waiting for them when their parents die, because once they pass and move on, what's what is their quality of life going to look like, unless they already know this. Like, yeah, I'm set. When they pops is pops is 75, mom's is such and such, whatever. I'm straight. I'm straight. I'm just gonna ride it out. I don't know how. I know in the black community, not all, but a great deal, that's not our situation. I think in other cultures that may be the situation for them, that they end up shit living good
Yeah,
after that.
it is. And like you said, for those of us who don't have a mother or father or whatever it is pass on wealth, it's gonna be a real rough ride. Especially if you don't have a skill set and you find yourself out there just twisting in the wind. You're gonna have to earn. You're gonna have to find somehow, some way to keep a roof over your head, keep yourself fed and clothed. You introduced the character Melvin into the lexicon. There may be a lot more of us walking around than we ever really imagined. We talk about women being the breadwinners in many households. I think that's going to increase. The only question that's going to come is, are they going to allow men to be stay-at-home husbands, or just to be stay-at-home fathers, or just to remain in the home? We already know that men, by and large, make up the largest homeless demographic in this country. But with the slew of evictions we've had due to COVID and non-payment of rent, that may change quickly. So, I mean, we are literally looking down the barrel of a societal shift
So
in what is considered to actually just raise kids into make it home, and it's all going to be based on income.
so how comfortable is that for men to be the in the top demographics of homelessness and all that stuff, when originally we supposed to be the captain of the ship, the ones that hold the tide down, and now things are shift. How comfortable is that for any man, if you use that as a measuring stick, that you would say, shit, I can't do that. See, for me, I seen my mother struggle with um three nappy head kids besides myself. I'm joking. uh, but I seen the struggle, so I said I had to push forward. I had to keep pushing forward. Like, when, so do we get to a point that some men say, "I'm tapping out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm tapping out," and how does that work? How do we build a nation? How do we keep moving forward? What does that do for the younger generations coming up when they, because for me, I seen my grandfather working, I seen my mother working, I seen my grandmother, I seen my aunts working, and for a point in time, I seen my father working, I seen other people working. So I said, "Shit, you got to work. You got to work." But if people tapping out, what does the future really look like when we think about that?
Bleak, very bleak, which is why immigration is becoming a bigger issue. Um, we hear about the passport bros, so you have the men who are capable of carrying a family. They are leaving to seek women who are amenable to what they want. And what that's doing now is that's taking an available class of men and that's condensing it even further.
So let me lecture you before you go on. So when you and I understand the concept of passport bros and all that stuff. So when they go over there, are their families, they're keeping their families over there, or are they bringing the families over here? If they're creating families like with children and all that stuff, are they coming back to the United States?
You have some that are, you have some that aren't. And this goes back to, I think it's Raw, when Eddie did the skit about bringing the women back here, and she was talking about, I want to have Eddie. So you have some men who are literally going overseas. They're called expats. They're going overseas. They've made enough money, or they're where they can work remote, meaning that they may live in whatever place they choose to, and they can work from there. So they still get their American money, and wherever they are, that dollar goes farther. So they're good there. They may never come back home. So with the black male population in this country already 3 million less than black women, if you take 500,000 more and you remove them from the dating pool, all of a sudden now the number of men that women had to choose from decreases sharply. And we haven't even talked about the men who are left here dating out. So you're looking at all these things that are coming down the pipe. And it's an onslaught of things that, frankly, does not paint a very good picture. So while, like I said, while black women have the right to be upset and to be angry about it, they really aren't in a position to tell brothers what they're going to do. Because brothers are saying, look, we chart our own course. We moving in our own direction. We don't care how mad y'all get. We don't care if you have a right to it. We are going to do us. And so that's going to leave a very large percentage of women, more specifically black women, looking for a viable mate.
But you know what? A lot of it is people don't listen and they don't understand and they don't kind of study things as far as moving forward. So, the people they talk to, I said I made a post the other day and I said it about youth, but it can be expanded other than youth. Sometimes we simply don't have a sense of urgency.
Right.
People don't have a sense of urgency. They think everything and like, like my eyes is open and I'm listening and I see the shift that's going on. Shit, I better do something about it and put myself in a better situation, because you know what? They keep praying to this spooky God. And I don't never try to turn this into no overly religious thing, but even some of the concepts that y'all say about God, they keep praying and waiting for like they're gonna that this magical figure is gonna be come knocking on their door one day, and you're waiting and waiting and waiting, and you're at like 75 and you're at Grace's Manor and all that stuff, and you're still waiting and waiting and waiting. You got to make moves.
Yeah.
You got to be proactive. You got to meet people halfway where they at. So even though you may feel a certain way, you may have to say, I might have to slack up. Not settling, but I may have to readjust my thought
Mhm.
process to make things work. And a lot of people don't understand readjustment. And then, like I said, we do a lot of parallels with sports. If your ass down at halftime, 21-7, but you still in the mix and you make a few tweaks and all that stuff, eventually you make in the second half, you may come back and tie it up or win that game. So sometimes you got to tweak things, not compromising everything you believe in, but you may have to make some adjustments. Are people willing to make adjustments? That's a big issue too. And I don't know. Some people are stuck in their ways and they're not willing to change or to adapt to something. But sometimes you just got to make some tweaks and revisions, and that'll get you over the top.
Yeah, and it's just as simple as that. And like you said, there's no sense of urgency, and with that not being without a sense of urgency being established, it's as an ethnicity, we will fall quickly into being even more obscure than what we are. And that's the greater concern that we should be having. I mean, if you look at that, you look at the number of people that have been lost to abortion, and I'm not here to point fingers at anyone. I want to make that clear. You look at that, like I said, the loss from abortion, the premature death of black men, all of that moves the needle in one direction. And that is, as the people, we may not exist in another 60 years, 3 generations essentially. So about the year 2060. I'm sorry, I said another 60 years. My math is bad right now. 2070, 2080. What we knew as black people may not exist anymore.
I want to say something with my family. Hey, Nicole, I really like that statement. She said everyone is claiming depression and anxiety.
Can you guys hear me?
Instead of making moves.
Yes.
Yeah, we hear you. And I think that is key.
I can't hear you guys.
Are you muted?
We'll wait for you to come back on. But
okay.
Dr. Nicole, because I'm gonna give you the respect. Dr. Nicole, that's my family, love her to death. Everybody is claiming anxiety, depression. Yo, why y'all as adults want to get labeled for shit as an adult? Oh, I got anxiety. You nah. And that's what everybody's claiming. You hear a lot of women say, oh, it's my anxiety. No, it's your inability to listen to probably someone to say, calm down, relax. That your anxiety deals with your independence. See, when you think you're independent, you mean you can handle everything on your own.
Mm-hmm.
And real champions understand I can't do this shit on my own.
Right.
I need somebody to grab my shoulder and say, settle down, relax. We got this. So when you say independent, that means I got this by myself. I ain't never, you don't know, you don't never see too many things going around. I'm an independent black man. That ain't our word. We ain't preaching that. We ain't never been preaching that. I'm a strong, independent black man. We ain't got songs going out like that. We understand the fight. That's just real.
Woo, yeah, man. And like I said, man, you know, and this is more so question or situation for the younger generation, those who are in the 24 to 34 age demographic, because those are the individuals who are in the prime of their lives in terms of marriage and reproduction. Because I'm 51. I'm not having any kids. That's not even up for, that's not a remote topic I'm even addressing. It's not up for discussion, debate, or anything. And most of us Gen Xers, we're done. We're not having any kids. So now it becomes, of the people who've had them, it becomes their offspring. Because right now, they're about right there. So if they're not buying homes, which is the number one indicator of whether or not somebody's probably going to get married and have kids, especially if you're a man, then literally, what are these men doing with their lives? They're not getting married. They're not having kids, and of the ones that are working, most of them are just earning enough money to support themselves, and they don't care. So, like I said, it leaves women in a very, very precarious position. So,
let me see this comment from Ray
yeah.
Alexander. What's good, brother Ray? And Naomi the marketer, I agree with you. That's why it's so important to establish a solid relationship with core compatibilities, being positively interdependent rather than codependent. And we always talk about interdependence. That's the only way it can be. I got my weaknesses. You got your strengths. I got my strengths. You got your weaknesses. And I keep emphasizing it's the sports model. You have people to carry you, and they have their strengths. You have your weaknesses, and that's who you need to gel with. It's no point of being with somebody and you say, "Oh, we both alphas." Oh, we both believe it. Chest poked out, but just both of y'all had the same weaknesses. What y'all gonna do with that? Yeah, both weak in a certain area. What y'all gonna do? Look at each other mad? Poke out your chest to blame each other? What you gonna do? Or should you find someone to say, "Hey, this is my strength. This is what I do." After conversation and talking, and you feel like, "Damn, okay, listen, we have to figure this out. You have to mix and match and figure out what works for you." And sometimes we got it all wrong, and it's time to try to make a paradigm shift on what works, whatever, to move forward in the future.
I agree. I agree. It's not as if it can't be done, but there has to be a concerted effort. And without that concerted effort, like I said, the people that look like us will go away. The only place you'll see us is in pictures, paintings, and books. There will be no more afros. There will be no more what we know now as Black culture. It will all be amalgamated.
Yeah. We have to come together. We have to solidify our legacies and build strength. And again, like I said, it can't always be under crisis situations. Sometimes we simply just have to get together during times and just build and say, "Hey, we moving forward," because all it takes is what we do understand. We live in a copycat society, and if you see one family unit doing it and it's obtainable for other families, everybody start doing it. Yeah, copy every goddamn thing everybody do. So that's what we have to start seeing and promote that. Let me see these comments. Okay, we got some. Nicole said, "I feel like we are doomed." Shaking my head. We do need a daily, consistent effort. I agree. Big discussion. Steph Currys and Patrick Mahomes. Guys, I don't have sound on my phone. Yeah, and a lot of times, and I agree, cousin Nicole, that sometimes I say, man, look, yeah, we're doomed. We fucked. And I only base that on what I see and how, because again, we don't have our own system of independence, so we still fall under the global or with the United States or whatever we do. We still fall under their rules, and of course they don't want us to get on top.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But when we have strength in our numbers, then it pushes the needle for them. Like, hey, we getting a lot of pushback from them. We got to do something. They're not letting up, so we're gonna have to do something, and that's when you see change. But we don't do it. We don't care. The only time we do it when somebody's damn near dead or dying. That's the only time we come together, and we got to change it. We got to be together when we live and everybody functioning and we doing well. We got to, because how else could we should pass the word on to the younger generation. Let me see. Big discussion. Hey guys, I don't have sound on my phone, but it's all being engineered. Yeah, we know that they're working. They're working, and we're chilling. They stay working behind the scenes.
Yeah, and it's, to what Dr. Dunbar said, this is something that's really been in the works, literally since about the turn of the 20th century. We've heard the term the melting pot before, so absolutely, it's been engineered. You look at what happened to the indigenous people that were here pre-Columbus. Their numbers tend to dwindle with every passing generation. So, I mean, it's not just us. And if I painted that picture, please forgive me. That's not what I was intending on doing. What I was just trying to do is say, hey, look, this is what we are facing. This is our current circumstances. And these are the things that Black women want to address. But the thing about it is, who's going to address them if Black men don't address them? Because the way things are situated now, a lot of Black men don't feel like they have to. They don't feel like it's necessary. And I'm just here to tell you what a lot of Black men are thinking. They're saying, you know what? We've tried long and hard. We tried to please our women, but they don't want to meet us halfway. So if they don't want to meet us halfway, then we just gone.
Which is crazy, because when you think about it, and like I said, Black men, we're not claiming I'm an independent Black man. We want women with certain strengths. You don't have to, if I'm making, and I'm just throwing a figure out there, if I'm making, and I'll say 85,000 a year, you're not at that level and you're making 35, 40, but you do things to make things easier for me, and I do things to make things easier for you, then we got a common ground. And I think we need to figure out that common ground, because to say, no, she don't make enough, or he not doing this, he not doing that. I don't know what manual or book y'all are being read from. I don't even know which service y'all attend on Sundays, whatever. We need to work together. And that's the problem. Let me read. My family is in here. Nicole said, that's a big statement. You are right. They are working and we are chilling. Yep. And AT, my man, it's a great conversation. We lost the art of connection and being alert in the moment, and too many smartphones and distractions. We connected on the devices, but person, we are lifeless. Damn. And my family, they dropping it. My family, they dropping it. That is true.
Yeah.
We don't have we're losing it. And the only time we want to come together is times of turmoil or lifeless situations. When it's dire straits. We got to come together at a high, at a celebration. And let's continue this and let's build. We don't do that. And they sit back and watch. They sit back and watch how we make moves. And they laugh. And they toast to that shit.
Yep. And when it seems as if we're making some traction, something mysteriously happens to derail that progress. So there's a gentleman whose name I'm going to mention who I've been taking in a lot of his work. Some people don't like him; they call him a sellout. His name is Jason Whitlock, and he has a podcast he calls Fearless. Check him out. He's going to give you, now he does have a religious tilt to him. I will say that, and we don't promote religion on the show. I'm not particularly a religious person. Spiritual, yes. Religious, no. Listen to what he's saying. And that's something else I want us to do is to start to not get our information from the major news sources. Because what they're telling us isn't what we need to know.
They only give you a snapshot, like a quick snapshot of shit, whatever. And that's why I always say, like, and this is a whole different thing. Like, man, I got to get rid of all this whole cable shit and all that shit because it's just a quick, brief snapshot. And a snapshot is just like a quick blink of something, like a commercial. And the way you let it influence your mind, it can control you. And I think that's what the news does.
Yeah, because it's funny. I can't remember, I was listening to, I think I was listening to the podcast that they were talking about the Damar Hamlin injury and how the tweet was being blown out of proportion. And it was saying this all devised to keep us distracted. And so for those of you who are politically inclined and you're keeping up with what's going on with the selection or the vote to confirm the House Speaker, some people don't understand why that's important. And I'm going to ask this question. In the ascension of power in the United States of America, it goes the president, vice president, and who is next if those two individuals become incapacitated and unable to serve. I'll leave that question with you, and I'll reveal the answer next week. Stop.
Man, it was a lot of good dialogue. We don't want to belabor the point, but like I say, all of these conversations is built on one concept after another. Let me read Nicole. She said, I don't even discuss my income with men because I don't want anyone to feel intimidated. No matter who makes what, we need to combine and accumulate more. And that's real. When you have somebody jockeying and telling you, again, pumping out their chest, yeah, I'm doing this and I make $150,000 a year. That's right there. That's a telling tale. That's a telling tale, whatever. They're kind of trying to put it out there. Like, if you ain't equating to that, you ain't it.
And see, I'm a different type of guy. For the last 20 years, I don't think I've dated or dealt with a woman who hasn't made at least what I make or more. Say that one more time. In the last 20 years, I don't think I have dated a woman who hasn't made as much money as I do or more. The reason why that doesn't bother me is because I'm secure in what I do and what I can accomplish. I look at all the things I've done in my life. Graduated from high school, put myself through high school, went to college, didn't graduate college. Got caught up in some nonsense that I should have been able to avoid. Become a homeowner. Run for political office. You have a lot of guys who have endeavored to do nothing. So when they come across a woman and she does make more money than them, it makes them feel a certain way. It makes them feel as if they're inadequate, that they can't contribute. So the question that those men need to ask is, why do I feel that way? Because if the only barometer that makes a man is the money he makes, then you have to ask the larger question. What happens if that guy suffers an income loss? We've seen it with COVID, downturns in the economy. We're going through a recession right now. So what happens if you take a hit and you lose 35% of your income? Do you cease to be a man? Do you cease to be functional? What other ways can you contribute to the relationship? What other ways can you make sure that the relationship still grows? These are the things that a lot of men who get to a certain point in life, they never consider. And it's lost upon them. And that, I feel, is unfortunate, because when you start to base your life just upon money and what you earn, you have to prepare yourself for the ramifications of what could happen if you lose that income. And if you lose that income, what else can you do to sustain yourself? It's real. Yeah, that's true. And I'll read what Nicole said. She said, keyword Herb, you are secure and have knowledge of self. People are still looking for themselves, men and women. And I agree, which is why we need to actually start to pair together with people who are going the same way. And I've said this before. In order for us to move forward and be a viable force, we're going to have to cut dead weight. That dead weight could be family members, friends. We have to get to a point where we say, you know what? You're not productive. We don't need your kind reproducing. We don't need your kind doing anything that's going to derail the future. And we have to ostracize them. I know it sounds insensitive. I know it sounds uncaring, but the larger thing that we have to recognize is the more dead weight we keep bringing aboard, we keep trying to save, the faster the ship sinks.
And one of the things, like I keep saying, we need to come together. We need to have more platforms. We need to have more live platforms together. We can't keep relying on the old things that we used to do. We need to have more face-to-face conversations like this and talk about this. We can't keep going with the old model of someone talking and we just sit there like puppets, because that seems like a dictatorship. They talk, you listen, and you walk away. We need a more person-centered approach that people can express how they feel, what they're going through. And I keep telling y'all, y'all can strike me down or whatever the case is. That church model ain't working. Ain't working when you sitting there like, oh, that was a good word. Unless you can expand on the word or give your personal experiences to the word, it's like you're a walking mummy. You listen, you walk out there, and that's that. And then you say, "Oh, that was a good word." A good word is when you're able to get some rebuttal, and then they come back, and you're like, "Damn, that was tight. That was all right." I'm just saying. I'm just saying what works for people. It's just, it's just, it's not working, and we need to find other ways, whatever. Because as we sitting around, like I said earlier, chilling, other people are plotting and planning.
Yes, they are.
Actions.
Believe that.
So, what we gonna do? It's another year. We keep saying the same shit. It's 2020. It's 2019. It's 2020. It's 2021. What we gonna do different? Nicole said, "You're all right. No dead weight. I just figured out that church motto is not working." Facts. I mean, I'm just saying, because to me it seems like that's dead. Like somebody tell you something, you do it, but you really need to put a plan in action, and you need to be able to have dialogue throughout a conversation. I'm not about to sit there and again, I could be a professional development. I'm not going to be the one that sits there and like raise their hand or anything, but I take shit in. But other people question whatever, and then my juices get flowing. You got to have a dialogue back and forth. That model of someone just talking and you just listening, that shit dead. That's dead in this generation. That's dead. Back in the days, you would do it because we didn't have the resources. But now people got ways of finding out information. If that's the model you're looking for, and I'm not trying to tell anybody, those old band churches, whatever, you do what you got to do to bring you happiness. But I'm just saying, for me, that model would never work for me. Somebody just sitting there talking, because I'll fall asleep quickly on that. I need some engagement. And them like, oh shit, they said that. Oh my God. To get my wheels spinning. That's just me. Go ahead, Herb.
Nah, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. But you know the funny thing, what I've discovered in customer service is I try to do more listening than I do talking. Even when I get a guest that comes to me and there's a situation that I may not be able to address right away, I'm always trying to take in the information. So because sometimes we'll get a situation that doesn't make any sense, and we have to actually start piecing together things. And what I found out is 90% of what I take in, I only need 10% to come to a resolution and solve an issue. And it reminds me of and Daphne has said this, and I'll use Daphne as an example. She said when she used to get upset and she would go to her father would say, just the facts. So sometimes we get people, when they tell a story, they want to bring all this stuff in that has nothing to do with the central point. And when you do that, you put people to sleep. It's just an uninteresting, uninspired conversation. And when you do that, people, they kind of tune you out. They say, you know what? I can't stand to be around him. I can't stand to be around her, because it's always drama. It's always somebody did something to them. They the innocent person. Then you come to find out that they're the catalyst. They're the main reason why their life is so jacked up.
It doesn't take much to say year after year you keep we know the definition of insanity. I don't have to keep preaching that. It doesn't take too much to realize, like, damn, these same concepts, these same beliefs, I got to try something different. And remember, we talked about earlier, challenging yourself, doing things that make you feel uncomfortable. That's where growth occurs. As Herb said, in the gray area. Push yourself to the limit. Make somebody back you against the wall. And you have to like, damn, I just can't get out this situation without what I'm used to normally doing. I got to come with something different.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you have strength. And that's when you develop power. We not there. We ain't trying to get there. I see the stuff on social media and stuff all day long, and I like, man, they don't get it. And I even say for myself, sometimes I fall short at work, and I don't I don't give them what I can really give them because they ain't ready for it. They're not ready for it. They're not ready for it. I'm ready. They're not ready for it because it would be a whole damn shift. Because I always say, always keep saying, and I've said this many times, schools shouldn't be called schools anymore. Need to be agencies. Need to have every community vehicle up in there to function right. And until someone has the money, like I wish I had the money to say, I'm about to show the first true example of how this gonna work.
I think that's what Dr. Umar is trying to do. Hasn't met with a whole lot of success yet, but I think that's what he's trying to do.
Well, I would love to follow his model because working and day to day, and you see the stuff, you be like, "What the hell?" But to me, it keeps you young. It keeps you. I don't. I'm not one to take the stress home with me. I'm more so like, man, it was a wild day, but this is what we deal with. So when we talk about schools, we talk about education, leadership, different things. This is our life. This is what we have to put together. We have to piece together, and we may have to do it individually. We have to work together. It's how many people willing to work with us on it. Now we're not just us trying to say we're the Black Panthers or anything like that. We're just trying to have um, informal conversations to keep these conversations going because and then, a lot of people also like it's no point of doing it unless you got a solution. You can't have no freaking solution unless you start having conversations.
Yeah.
And that's what people I'm not interested in hearing anything unless you come with solutions. That shows how the small minded conversation. You got to put stuff out there. That's called brainstorming. When you put everything out there, and these conversations are brainstorming to talk about it, to see what the issues are, and then you go from there. All right, I'm done. I don't like to talk too much.
No, I have nothing to say, man. Nothing
Martha
else.
said, make change. Nicole said, all in all, stay in the fight for us, but it gets hard and discouraging sometimes. This conversation keeps me motivated. And that's all we look to do for people to be motivated and try to not say what everybody else is saying. Trying to push the envelope. Like, did you think about this perspective? Don't think about the what not think about what everybody else is thinking. Give them an opposite perspective. That's how this is how everything is created. Trying to like understanding that there's other perspectives involved. But at the same time, we talk about certain things that you say, damn, I got some work to do. Let me go back and do this. Shit, after we get off here, it's gonna be some things that I'm thinking like, man, I still gotta grind. I still gotta grind. I still gotta grind. Even physical health. Like I said, when I went to physical therapy, oh, you gotta challenge yourself, David. Maybe you need to get into yoga. I don't want to do it, but will it make me a better person? They'd be like, oh man, my body stretched out. I can try it. What's gonna happen? What's the worst gonna happen? Somebody like, oh, he can't do anything. I can handle that. You gotta handle situations that make you feel uncomfortable. Can't worry about that. We've been through a lot of uncomfortable situations. So we just got to keep pushing forward. We're going to get ready to get some closing comments, and we're going to get out of here. That game was a dud tonight. A dud. So change that format. So I'm glad people were able. I know we're always going to have our women that, come on, whatever. The guys. I ain't nothing wrong with sport and play. Now, I know next Monday, that's really is going to be the big thing. Dallas against Tampa Bay. We're going to be competing against that. Tom Brady against the Cowboys, the America's team. We'll see how that work out.
They should be playing Saturday, actually. The wildcard game, I think, is Saturday.
No, they play Monday.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't look at the schedule. I mean, after the Dallas late Sunday, man, I have some.
I don't know if you want to play against Tom Brady on a winner take all game. So that's where it's at. Tampa Bay against Dallas next Monday.
I have some huge concerns about my man's play at the QB spot, but I'm gonna let that ride for right now.
We'll see. They'll be live. We'll be going against them. Who you want to see? The counselor's corner or Tom Brady? Herb, any closing comments you have? We talked about a lot. We talked about a lot.
A language, instrument, or a book, because as we all know, growth and understanding occurs in the gray area.
You ain't finished the rest.
Yeah. Godspeed. See you next time.
All right. Nicole said, good stuff, David. I know these schools are crazy. LL. Yes, indeed, family. Yes, indeed. My whole thing, my closing comment is we all have weaknesses. We all have weaknesses. We all have strengths. It's about matching people. It's about matching up with people that can make you whole, and you can give them wholeness. We can no one can make it alone. We understand that. So we have to figure out what completes us. So anybody talk about I'm complete, I don't need anybody. That shit, that's trash. They just talking. Because nobody's 100% complete. No one is. So, because if that's the case, our marriage percentages will be really low.
Yeah.
If you can walk around like, oh, I don't need nobody. But we always have a missing component, and we always talk about synergy and all that. The sum is always the sum is always greater than the whole. When you have multiple pieces, it's always going to be greater. So my thing is, find that, look for that, understand your weaknesses, and look for someone that can match that. If they can't, then it's time to go, move on. But that don't mean it's disrespect toward that. They just didn't make the cut. But you should have a target individuals that you're looking for, and that's where the 100 questions come into play. you take what you missing, and you find those something to deal with them 100 questions and say these questions right here relate to me. Now I got to some way slide these questions in, like Herb say. It ain't direct. You got to find a way to manipulate them in the conversation. And if they fail the test, they fail the test. Herb, drop that 100 question brochure. What you waiting on? I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to push you to the back. And I'm going to have you to the back, and you'll be like, oh, I got to come through because David going to challenge you.
Yeah.
So that's it. That is it. That is all. Find that. Once you find that, you'll be good to go. until the next issue come up. But I enjoyed this conversation. I know we didn't have the normal hostile. Sometimes we have to have the calm to the storm, and we loyalty is everything, and we just keep pushing forward to keep having these conversations. It doesn't matter if it's just me or Herb or whatever. The message is still going to be clear that we out to challenge, and we out to make people feel uncomfortable, and we are to make that uncomfortability make you comfortable in certain situations, one step at a time. With that said, we out. See you next time. Enjoy the rest of your week. Can't wait. Playoff football this weekend. Playoff football. When we come on next week, it's going to be a lot of different dynamics change. But everybody be safe, be good, be well.
Take care.
Take in what we said, and we definitely take in what you guys said because y'all offered a lot. Love you all. We out. Peace.